Halifax.
Hello and welcome to this, the Thursday edition, or as we like to call it around here, Friday Eve edition of the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Alstrand. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Looks like there's some rain in the forecast tonight. Alistair Alder's telling us today that the rain will begin tonight, carry on a bit through tomorrow. Rainfall amounts are going to vary. There could be some more in areas. There's a chance of those embedded downpours that we have grown accustomed to here, at least except for this summer, in and around the Nova Scotia region. 15 to 25 millimeters of rain total. That's not tons of rain, but it should help the situation that many of us are facing. And I know that there are still many people who are conserving water. We talked about it yesterday. And we also know that there are a number of wells and such that are in dire straits because of the dry summer and the lack of snow. So hopefully this rain will help that situation out as well. And speaking of Alistair Alders, you can have a chat with Alistair. He's on location today. He's out at the QE2 Grand Prize Cottage. If you're not sure where that is, you've seen the commercials, right? That's the one that the fundraiser, the biannual fundraiser. Anyway, he's at the Grand Prize Cottage today. That's at 369 Meek Arm Trail in East Uniacke. So if you're out in the East Uniacke area, you want to take a look at that house, pop in and say hi to Alistair. And maybe he'll give you a personalized forecast. Who knows? Anyway, he'll be joining us and the radio station throughout the day today to bring us updates from the QE2 house and or the cottage, I guess, and give us some of the insider's look at it, because I would imagine, based on past history, that it's quite beautiful inside there. Anyway, we'll look forward to that. Some news for the Todd Veinotte Show today and yesterday. Of course, if you were on social media, you already know, but if you weren't, taking a couple days off. I'm on my way to Ontario after the show today to participate in a military reunion. And those of you out there that have had the uniform on before know what those are about. It's going to be a lot of fun. Going to see some people I haven't seen for 30 years. So I'm looking forward to that. And in my stead, is filling in for me Friday and on the Monday edition of the program, we're very, very honored to be able to announce that Lisa Blackburn is going to be sitting in the chair tomorrow and Monday. For those of you not familiar with Lisa, Lisa was a mainstay on Halifax radio for a number of years. I won't say many because she'll get mad at me because it'll make her maybe be as aged as I. But she was also a Halifax regional councillor for a couple of terms. So Lisa's going to join the show tomorrow and host it on Friday and on Monday. And I trust you'll afford her the same courtesy that you afford me each and every day here on the program. Really excited about it. I know she's really excited about it. So I look forward to listening to Lisa on the air here at 95.7 News Radio. Toronto Blue Jays lost again last night. What's going on, right? Like, what has happened to the Toronto Blue Jays? Vladdy got kicked out. The Yankees won last night against the White Sox, and now we're tied in the American League East race. It's getting down to the wire, and let's hope that they'll find a way to turn their fortunes around. I know Cecil is somewhere out in Radio Land grinning because we've lost 2 games in a row now to his Red Sox. So, and he'll be here with Lisa on Friday to talk about the Blue Jays. So I hope that you can join us for that. We had a good discussion yesterday here on the program on Dartmouth Cove, right? We had that statement from one of the property owners who, of course, not happy. And we also heard from the group that's looking to preserve the area and why it's important, the trails and so on and so forth. I think it's only appropriate, only fitting that we chat with the councillor who was behind this week's motion at council that saw a recommendation from staff defeated and now a bylaw entering first reading to essentially give Dartmouth Cove the same protections as seen at the Northwest Arm. That councillor, District 5's Sam Austin, and Councillor Austin joins me on the phone this morning. Sam, how are you?
I'm good, Dan. How are you?
I am well. Let's roll back.
I have to say, just before we get rolling, jealous of my colleagues that get to do counselor on the hot seat on Monday with Lisa Blackburn. No more gem of a human being than Lisa.
Lisa is fantastic, and I know she's really looking forward to it, and I hope that that everybody tunes in and joins the show. She's going to be fantastic. Sam?
She'll have a bit of an insider's perspective that might be interesting too.
Right, a different perspective. Always good to get perspective, right?
Yes, it is.
Sam, let's roll back the clock here on Dartmouth Cove, and maybe for those that are just catching up on this, what's at stake here? Why have we decided that we have to afford these protections to that area and now?
Yeah, so I mean, I think the first thing to note is there's this huge jurisdictional gap around infilling in the harbor. The federal government has the ultimate authority, but they're not equipped to do planning. So the only things they take into account in making decisions on infilling are how it relates to federal responsibilities, fish, and navigation. The municipality does planning, sort of bigger community vision type stuff, but we don't have authority. So the only way this thing potentially works is if the two sides kind of get together and work on it. So in Dartmouth Cove, why it's important there, and I think, there's other places in the harbor. It's probably, this isn't the first infill controversy. It goes to the collective, what is our vision for our waterfront? What does the community want out of it? And, what's this waterfront going to look like? Because the Dartmouth waterfront is really untapped potential in terms of public space out there. So that's why I think it's important to put a pause on anything happening to it until we actually complete some more planning on it and get to that community vision of what do we want out of this place.
Right, Sam. The I watched the debate on Tuesday and watched it again last night just to be sure. There was a lot of discussion surrounding jurisdiction, and I know you touched on it in your opening, but. Does it make any sense to have a bylaw in the books when that jurisdiction question is still in question?
I think it does, and I'll tell you why. Because there's been a whole lot, it's been really frustrating, right? With the Northwest Arm, which was the other one of these, the federal government was a very active participant, right? They not only said yes, but they actively led efforts. With Dartmouth Cove, it's been much more ambiguous. We've got kind of a definitely maybe from them of, yes, we're willing to work with the municipality, and then every letter has a little bit of a caveat, except for, if it intrudes on blah, 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 right? So the feds are less enthusiastic, but they haven't said no, and the province hasn't said no either. They've said, well, depends what the feds want to do, whether or not they would consider it. This whole thing has been just going around in the community with everyone kind of pointing at each other. And the one way to break that bureaucratic logjam is for one of the three federal, provincial, municipal to take a stand. And so that would be us at the municipality. We're going to put forward a bylaw. And if it passes council, either the feds or province will have to not just kind of quietly maybe root for it to fail behind the scenes, at least in some quarters. They'll have to actively decide whether or not this is something they want, right? It's, it's get off the pot time.
Sam, we heard from one of the property owners here on the program yesterday, sent us a statement, I'm paraphrasing it, saying, of course, not happy with council's decision to move forward with this first reading on this bylaw, and again reiterating that they don't believe that the HRM Council has jurisdiction in this matter, saying that this is a working harbor, it's a Transport Canada issue, and are promising to explore all options. And in my world, when somebody says that normally means heading into the courts and perhaps filing suit. Is that a concern? Are we concerned that this is going to get tied up in legal mess?
It very well could be. I mean, the folks, they have deep pockets. They have a strong interest in this. They've sued others already. So, yeah, this could very well end up in court. Some of that will depend what the feds and province do in response to a bylaw being passed by council, assuming that, we do. So that will very much depend. If we do end up in court, that's okay. We have to defend ourselves, in bylaws. And, we have in-house legal staff for a reason because, we do get sued from time to time. And I don't think you can make public policy based on, someone's threatening to sue us. I think, you have to go forward and make the best decision you can with all the information and inputs on it. And if someone then challenges you, then that's why we have rule of law in this country to assess out whether that was in bounds or not.
Sam, please correct me if I'm wrong here, but I understand that part of the infill that would be going into, or what was proposed to go into Dartmouth Cove, was coming from the QE2 expansion site. Some people have emailed me suggesting that by protecting Dartmouth Cove, we're kicking this down the road a little bit. They're going to put that somewhere. Is that a concern?
My understanding is that's already been disposed of. Right now, there's two places in the harbor where you can dispose of fill. The port takes in fill, and then the other one, of course, I understand Irving Shipyards has some fill capacity that they'll take. This wouldn't be an impact on the hospital. There's other locations.
So what's next? What's the next step in this, Sam? I know you council voted in favor of sending this to first reading. Where does it go from here?
Yeah, so the next step, we've given first reading, so that's the signal that we want to consider this. There'll be a public hearing in October, and public hearing, everyone who is interested in it, residents of the community, property owners, anyone can come and present their views to council on the matter, and after council's heard from everyone, we'll consider everything and make a decision.
Is there a date set for that public hearing yet?
I don't have a date yet for it. Typically, they happen, the next or the following meeting. So it'll be sometime in October would be my expectation.
And that would be at council, right? At the chambers?
Yeah, that'll be at City Hall. And my suspicion is it will be a lengthy public hearing because in my 9 years, I don't think any issue in the district has ever generated so much interest as this one.
And that was my next question. Just about every councillor that spoke to this motion on Tuesday night at council, or Tuesday afternoon at council, said that they received a lot of email and correspondence from people out there. People are actively engaged in this. And Sam, just the second part of that question, what kind of percentage are we talking for and against with regards to communication?
Well, the general public is overwhelmingly opposed to the infill proposal in Dartmouth Cove. They've seen infill happen with the Smithers property, which kind of wore out the welcome because it infilled. There's nothing really happened with that property since. Folks don't want to see that happen elsewhere in Dartmouth Cove. And the response from the public has been overwhelming. And it's not even like... in the municipal election, I did a lot of door knocking, and I door knocked neighborhoods that were far, far removed from the Cove, like up in Creighton Park, Lancaster Ridge, Manor Park. And on the doorstep, this is what people wanted to talk about then, too. I think that goes to the fact that this isn't just a space that is adjacent to some homes that the homeowners are upset about. This is the waterfront. This is one of the few places where you can cross those tracks and walk on the harbor side of the trail. And because of that, this has a resonance to people, right? That's far beyond. It's not just, kind of a NIMBY, not in my backyard. It's about the waterfront, which collectively people feel a whole lot more attached to.
Sam, is this a signal that council is going to put the brakes on infilling in other places? And the reason I asked that, I think it was during the debate on Tuesday. We know that we've had infill projects in the past. Bedford, Wolf Park's part of that, and Kings Wharf is partially infilled. Is this mean that that infilling is going to be a no-go moving forward?
No, I don't think so. I mean, the challenge with this whole thing is I don't think infill is necessarily bad. Some of the spaces around the harbor, like the Halifax waterfront, heck, the Dartmouth Trail in this section that has so many folks concerned itself is infill because it was infilled for the sewer pipe as part of the Harbor Solutions project. So I don't think infill is necessarily bad. What I think is problematic is infill with no greater plan or vision. And we don't have a vision for the Dartmouth waterfront yet. We're working on one. That'll come forward late 2026, maybe early 2027 if things run a little behind schedule. And then at that point, we'll actually know what we want for this space, because there are places, like I've been on record saying that I think Kings Wharf should be connected to Ferry Terminal Park already. And I think there's other places around the waterfront where infill could be a doable thing. But, we have to do that planning first to figure out what the vision is for this place. Sam,
here's my curveball question. The mayor recently in a meeting or at a gathering had mused about the idea of building a ferry terminal, a cruise terminal on the Dartmouth side. Would that be part of this plan? And what do you think about that?
It is part of the plan, so that is something the Port Authority has talked about as well. I mean, I think there's a lot of potential opportunity in that for Dartmouth, but there's a lot of potential change that would come from that. And so that's one of these kind of facilities that brings both opportunity and challenge, and you have to be careful about, like, well, where do we want this and what do we want out of this and how do we maximize the benefits of it for the local community. And so all that's the kind of thing that you'd expect to come out of having a waterfront plan to say, well, this is where, if we're going to do a cruise terminal, this is where it should go.
Sam, appreciate it, sir.
No problem. Happy to talk.
That is Councillor Sam Austin, District 5. We'll keep an eye on the process, and we'll let you know when that public hearing is scheduled in October, as the bylaw that went through first reading on Tuesday makes its way through the legislative process and moves down the chain, as we would say. We're going to continue our focus here on HRM matters, and one of the issues that was brought up during that council meeting that we've been discussing on Tuesday night was an idea, maybe a plan to explore surge pricing. You know what surge pricing is, right? That's when the demand increases, then we see an increase in fares. We see it with Uber does it when it's busy. We've seen other places when there's an event that, you know, maybe a lot that has parking for $10. When there's an event, it's $15 and those kind of things. Well, there was a motion before council this week that would consider, it's not done yet, but it would consider surge pricing for parking meters downtown in an effort to encourage drivers to move along. We're going to have a conversation with District 7 councillor from Halifax South Downtown. That's Laura White about surge pricing when we come back. You're listening to The Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Alstrand. We're back in minutes.
Facts.
All right, welcome back. This is the Thursday, or as we like to call it around here, the Friday Eve edition of the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Alstrand. Regional council meeting, lots of course happens at every regional council meeting. And one of the things that was on the agenda and was discussed and was eventually passed on Tuesday evening was an ask of staff to take a look at the way that we charge for rates for parking in downtown Halifax, and to consider looking at I think the technical term is dynamic pricing model for parking. So if it's a busy day or there's a big event downtown, the pricing would go up, or a busy area of HRM that sees more traffic than others would have the ability to have an increase in price, all in an effort, as I understand it, to try and have people not park there for a long time move on, so that we open up more parking spaces. The councillor that put this motion forward at council on Tuesday was Councillor Laura White, and she joins me on the phone today. Laura, how are you?
I'm well. Good morning, Dan.
So that's kind of the genesis of this, right? Is that we want to explore options. Obviously, nothing is set in stone yet. We're going to get a staff report on it, but this is the ability for the city to increase parking rates in specific areas based on demand. Is that kind of where we're going with this?
Yeah. So there's two parts to it, two ideas. Part of a concept called parking reform. It's an academic place of study and has been implemented in practice. So the two things we're looking at getting information on are parking benefit districts and then dynamic pricing. Right. So you could do the dynamic pricing outside of a parking benefit district.
Okay.
Or yeah, you could do the benefit district without the dynamic pricing, but anyhow. Two concepts.
For those, Laura, who don't know what a parking benefit district is, can you explain what the theory behind it is?
Sure. The theory is, I mean, nobody wants to increase the price of parking just abstractly. It brings fears of having people not come and that sort of thing. So the theory is that there'd be some incentive for that neighborhood that experiences demand for pricing to think about pricing, more market pricing, so that they could enjoy and the benefits that money brings in to do things. It could be streetscaping, it could be beautification. One thing we've been talking about downtown and in Spring Garden Road is enhanced maintenance. Like when we have all these it's awesome having lots of people around, but the streets get pretty dirty, and how do we pay to clean that up?
And the dynamic pricing, would that be on a street per street basis, or would it be on like, for instance, if there was a big event happening at the the Scotiabank Centre or something like that, would we change prices for an event, or would this be based on purely on demand?
Well, we'll see what staff come back with.
Right.
It basically means market-based pricing, real-time changes. So if no one's there and there's no demand, on a Sunday morning or whatever, it could be zero. In high demand times, it would go up with demand. And like you said in your intro, I'm glad you pointed on that. The whole idea is to price accordingly, because streets and parking are not free, and also increase the availability of parking, because people feel a lot of frustration looking for a spot, and there'd be more likely to be a spot there with this sort of model.
Laura, the parking, obviously, whenever I mention parking on the show, the phones tend to light up, because it's a contentious issue with this. And is that really what's behind it, is to try and free things up, or is this, as some have suggested already, is just the city trying to get more money out of our pockets?
No, I'm interested in doing things sustainably and fairly, and there is a price for parking. Actually, the textbook that's written on this topic is called "The High Cost of Free Parking." So there's a cost to society for charging nothing for something that actually costs us a lot. So it's looking at making it make sense, making it fair, making it sustainable long term for the city. Mm-hmm.
Right, Laura, I'm going off memory. I think it was the acting CEO, Brad Anguish, said that there could be technology in there that this could be done kind of automated. Is that your understanding how this would work?
It is, because I haven't read that whole book. It's a big book.
Right.
But, I think I saw that there'd be like a little puck under the parking spot, and it can tell if there's a car there or not. So that indicates to the software to change the pricing. And the idea is to keep 1 to 2 free spots always available on a block.
How would it work with somebody that's already there? That rate would be set, right? It's like it's not going to go up on you on the app, and then when you look at it, like, oh my goodness, I owe more money, right?
I don't know how that would operate. But one of the key things is to note is that street parking is the most desirable, and therefore it should cost the most. Like, it should be cheaper to park in a parkade than on the street. The street spots are the ones that are most desirable, and we need them for accessibility, for deliveries, and that sort of thing. So if you're there long term, it makes a lot more sense to be in a parkade.
What do you say to the people who say there's not enough parking already, and that we should be creating more spaces instead of charging more?
Well, one of the goals of this is to increase the availability, as we've discussed. And just if you keep increasing something but not putting a price on it, then you get an induced demand. That's the whole thing with driving. If you just add another lane, you get an induced demand. There's a little bit more space for a while, but then there's more cars on the road and it fills up. So you got to price things right to make it make sense.
Laura, I mentioned in the preamble that this went through council yesterday or on Tuesday, and is been forwarded now to city staff. When are we expecting to see that report back?
I don't know the answer to that. It's a fairly complicated ask, so I imagine it would take a while. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate your time, Laura.
Okay, thank you, Dan.
Have a fantastic day.
You as well.
That is Bye-bye. District 7 Councillor Laura White, who's behind this ask. This might be something you want to discuss on the open hour today, which, of course, will take flight right after 11 o'clock today. Dynamic pricing. The theory is that it would make parking a little more expensive or a lot more expensive, and it would encourage people to move on. Is this good planning, or is this yet another tax grab? Something you might want to discuss when we open up the telephone lines coming up after 11 o'clock today. We're going to stop now, take a break. On the other side of it, we got a busy show today. Vanessa Vandenez doing fantastic work behind there, keeping things moving and getting the guests. We're going to have a conversation with Nova Scotia's Minister of Emergency Management. Kim Masland will join us as the province now moving forward on a firefighter training plan. Minister Kim Masland, your guest. When we return, you're listening to the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Holstrand. We're back in minutes. Welcome back. This is the Thursday edition of the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Alstrand. Glad you're along with us. If you can remember all the way back into the beginning of August, the news broke from the province that they were ending their relationship with the Nova Scotia Firefighters School following an audit that found some serious safety and policy gaps. The CBC story reads, the provincial government's comprehensive value for money audit of the school was commissioned in June to help ensure the safety of students and staff stemmed from the death of Skylar Blackie, who was killed during a training exercise in 2019. The province's Emergency Management Department said the review found a number of issues, including a breakdown in safety, accountability, lack of stakeholder engagement, systemic and governance issues, and inadequate governance and oversights of the executive director. Well, we're one step forward on that now, and I'm very pleased to welcome to the show to tell us a little bit about what's happening next is the Minister of Emergency Management for the province of Nova Scotia, and that is Kim Masland. Minister Masland, welcome back to the show.
Hi, Dan. Thank you so much.
So that being said, and the preamble kind of laying out what happened and where we're at now, what's the next step forward, and what has the province announced this week with regards to firefighter training in the province?
Yeah, exactly. So what we're doing is in response to what we heard from the value for audit money, which you have outlined. We're putting together an interim training program for firefighters. While we'll continue to work on a long-term comprehensive training model for our Nova Scotia firefighters. And, we want to make sure that, our firefighters are putting their lives on the line to protect others every day, and they deserve certainly a safe environment for training, and we're going to ensure they have one.
Is this program in place now? And the reason I ask that is are we training firefighters in Nova Scotia?
Yeah, so firefighters can still be trained within other fire departments right across the province. Many fire departments offer their own training, and they will be delivered regionally, which is really great for our fire departments. They do like to receive their training closer to home, so that's great. In the interim, we have set up what I feel is an absolutely great committee that will certainly lead us going forward. It's going to be led by Mark Bettens, who's Chief Director of the Cape Breton Regional Fire Service, and Paul Maynard, who's the Director of Client Services at the Department of Emergency Management. Both have extensive fire service within their communities. And then, of course, along with the rest of the committee. And they will develop and they will implement an interim regional training plan for firefighters. And then we look forward to the long-term plan as well.
Happens to me all the time, Minister. It's radio. It just happens. Anyway, that being said, Minister Masland, is this going to eventually end up in a bricks and mortar school like we saw in the past, or is that going to be determined as part of this process?
It all will be determined as part of the process. I mean, if you look at the group of members that we have, advisory members, executives, incredible folks on this committee that know fire service better than anyone in our province. We know that firefighters really like to receive their training regionally. So I would say we would see a lot of that regional training, sort of a hub and spoke model throughout our province.
Is this going to involve the Mi'kmaq communities as well as other communities in the province?
Absolutely. We will be working with the Mi'kmaq community, the chiefs throughout the province to ensure that the interim and long-term provincial firefighting training plan meets their organizational needs as well.
Do you have a time frame for this, Minister? Do we know when we're going to be able to announce what the next steps are?
Yeah, certainly. Our aim is for fall. We know how important this is, and we're really, really looking forward to continue to deliver safe place for our volunteer firefighters and professional firefighters to train. They deserve that.
By fall, do you mean fall this year?
Yes.
Okay, so within the next couple months.
That's right.
Fall's already here. It's crazy.
We move very on this, Dan. I mean, as you know, you mentioned our value for audit money was done in August.
Right.
And we haven't wasted any time on this at all. We absolutely know and we are committed to our firefighters out there to ensure they have a safe place to train. They deserve that.
Minister, I agree. Minister, I'm sure you've had consultations and discussions with various fire chiefs around the provinces as part of this. Are they in full support of having a plan like this?
Absolutely. I actually have traveled myself throughout the summer and met with chiefs throughout the province. I have an absolutely fabulous relationship with FSANS. FSANS knows their firefighters and delivery of fire services in this province to me better than anyone else. Greg Jones is very, very supportive on the formation of this advisory committee. He actually will be sitting on the committee as well. He has actually characterized this as a vital step forward to ensure that fire personnel are receiving consistent and effective and safe training. So I feel very confident in our path forward, and I'm looking forward to what we'll do in the future.
Minister Masland, cost obviously is a question here. Do we know what this will cost and what it will cost moving forward?
No, I don't. I can't give you a cost right now. I mean, we know obviously firefighters are paying for training now, but I can't tell you what a cost would be. To me, our firefighters, there is no cost I can put onto the service that they deliver to Nova Scotians, protecting people in their communities. Minister
Masland, appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Dan. It was great chatting with you.
That is Minister Kim Masland, Firefighter Training School, and to have this move forward, considering that the announcement was made on, I think it was the 8th of August, to have this move forward by the end of fall, I think is an ambitious goal, right? But I think I'll echo the minister's sentiment there that firefighters deserve the best sort of training that is available, and to get everybody on the same page across the province. It's great to train at the local level. 100% great to train at the local level, but there I think needs to be a standard, because we know that maybe one department does something a little different than another department, and departments, particularly in the rural areas, work closely with other departments. We saw that with the rollout for the wildfire in West Dalhousie, and we've seen many instances where there's been a fire somewhere, and there's a bunch of fire departments get together and work together, right? So I know that in discussions and my discussions with firefighters and firefighter groups that they are in full support of this, and getting a standardized training system in place is top of their mind. We're going to stop to get another break here on the program. On the other side of it, the show continues, and we're going to have a conversation about the Strides for Obesity walk when we visit with nurse practitioner coordinator of Nova Scotia Health's bariatric surgery program. Easy for me to say. Kara Evers will be joining us. You're listening to the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Allstrand. We're back in minutes. Welcome back. This is the Todd Veinotte Show, the Friday Eve edition, as we roll along here on another week as we're getting closer to the finish line. And speaking of finish line, that's what some are going to be looking forward to when next month we see a return of an event that has been away for a while as part of a major fundraiser for the Halifax Obesity Network. This is going to be the return of Strides for Obesity Walk, and we're very pleased to welcome to the program today to give us a little bit of perspective on it, Kara Evers. Kara, how are you?
I'm good, thanks, Dan. That was a fantastic segue.
Oh, I try hard, I really do, but most days I get it wrong. I'll be honest. Anyway, this it's been a while since we've seen this event. Hasn't been around for about 5 years.
That's correct. COVID brought a stop to the Strides for Obesity event. The previous organizers are not part of the event anymore, so it was really important to our clinic, to our surgeons, that this be brought back because it's an event that helps to raise awareness about a chronic disease that is going to affect 50% of our population in 2035.
Holy smokes, that's a sobering number.
It is.
Tell me a little bit about what the money raised goes towards here.
Absolutely. So we use the money to increase public awareness about obesity as a chronic disease. We educate patients, families, the general public, the government about this disease. We use it to address the social stigma surrounding obesity. We advocate to the government and to stakeholders on behalf of those that are affected by this disease. And we try to improve the quality of life of Nova Scotians affected by obesity by providing more timely access to appropriate care.
I think it's an interesting and an important point that obesity is a disease. It's not just somebody being lax and eating too many potato chips. This is a chronic disease.
And I really appreciate you saying that. That is something that whenever I'm speaking to anyone, I always start with an acknowledgement that, obesity is a chronic disease. It's determined 70% by genetics. The remainder of it, there are environmental factors. But it's a disease of the brain where hunger and energy control are disrupted, and this creates a lot of biological barriers to weight loss. And so, you're right. It's not a lack of willpower or failure on an individual's part.
And it brings with it a lot of, or a whole host of different things that can happen, and diabetes kind of sits right at the top of that list, right?
So, in fact, it's linked to over 200 other conditions, yes, including diabetes, heart disease, mental health challenges. And that adds up. It adds up to over $28 billion in money that is spent each year on managing obesity.
Tell me a little bit about the Halifax Obesity Network and the work that it does.
Absolutely. So we are a bariatric surgery clinic. Bariatric surgery is one of the treatments that's used to help manage obesity. So previously, decades and decades prior to this, we used the term diet and exercise. Have you tried diet and exercise? What we try to do is really give a little more information about what is diet and exercise. It's nutritionally prescribed food. It is physical activity that is as simple as just moving your body intentionally every day. We have medications that are fantastic. We now have 6 medications that have been approved for use in Canada to help treat this disease. And when lifestyle management and medications are not enough to help a person manage their obesity, we have bariatric surgery, and that's where my clinic comes in. So I am the person that helps patients make those lifestyle changes so that they are then able to go on to have surgery and have longevity in their success and in their weight loss, but more importantly in non-scale victories like reversing diseases, curing diabetes, getting people off of their CPAP machines, getting people off of so many of their heart medications as well.
So the surgery is essentially a last resort, right?
It shouldn't be considered as a last resort, but one of the issues that we run into in Canada is that we're not acknowledging that this is a chronic disease. There's only one province in Canada, and that's Alberta, where the government has officially declared that obesity is a chronic disease. And because of that, there are only 20% of people across Canada who have access to things like medications. So if you don't have access to a medication, then bariatric surgery becomes your last resort.
Kara, obviously there's been a lot of discussion about some of those medications that you referenced earlier in the forms of Ozempic and Wegovy, and the list goes on. Are those game changers? Or are you seeing them make a difference?
They are absolutely game changers. They're game changers when they are prescribed appropriately, when they're prescribed in addition to lifestyle change with a focus on diet, protein, physical activity. And there are so many more medications that are being developed that are even more effective. And it's important that people have access to those.
As I chew on my ham sandwich here, and I know many of people out there are maybe thinking, hey, I didn't know this even existed. If somebody wants more information on the network, on the Obesity Network, before we talk about the walk, how do they do that?
Absolutely. So a simple Google search, if you typed in Halifax Obesity Network, if you go to the Nova Scotia Health website and simply typed in the word obesity, you come up with a number of clinics. So there's a really important clinic in Cape Breton, the Obesity Care Clinic, that is publicly funded, that helps with medical management. There's an independent surgery and medical management clinic in Truro, but it will also bring you to the Halifax Obesity Network, which is us. And you're right, it isn't as well known or as well talked about as it should be.
Strides for Obesity Walk, when is it happening and how do we take part?
For sure. It's happening on Saturday, October 4th from 10 till 12. It's taking place at the Victoria General Hospital. Participants will be gathering in the parking lot just off of South Park Street. And it will be a 3K walk, taking participants down South Park to Inglis, back up Roby, along University Avenue, and then back to the VG parking lot. We have a website. It's www.stridesforobesity.com. There's a lot more information on there, plus a link to our registration. So we are using Race Roster this year, and that's where people can not just register, but they can also donate to this cause, and they can apply to volunteer. So we are still in need of some volunteers for this event.
Always need volunteers. Kara, I appreciate the time and appreciate the information.
Dan, I appreciate any opportunity to talk about obesity and raise awareness. Thank you so much.
Have a fantastic day.
You as well.
That is Kara Evers, who is a nurse practitioner and a co-coordinator at the Halifax Obesity Network. I'm going to be quite honest, until I started doing some research on this to get ready for this interview, I didn't even know it existed. And I was always of the assumption that obesity was just bad behavior, right? But it's not. And I think that's why we talk about walks and we talk about different fundraisers for many fantastic organizations on this program. But that's why it's important that they have these events, because you hear it all the time. We're just trying to raise public awareness, right? I didn't know anything about it. And I bet you there's a lot of you out there today that didn't know about it either. We're getting ready to stop and take our next break. Blake's going to update us on the news at the top of the hour. But on the other side of it, of course, it's time for the open hour. The lines are now open, 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. You can chat about whatever it is you'd like to chat about. However, a couple of stories today, one on the air here and one I read in the paper, I thought may have been of interest to you. One was our conversation earlier with District 7 Councillor Laura White. The city now asking for a staff report on the option of creating surge pricing. Dynamic pricing is the technical term for parking meters downtown. That means if it's busy, if there's a big event, if this one street is busier than another, then they will have the ability to raise the rate for parking downtown. I'm curious as to what you think about that. And also a story in today's Chronicle Herald, that the province is part of one of these massive omnibus bills that we've been seeing for the last couple of days. You know, those bills with 8 different things on them. If you start to drill down into them, you find little nuggets, and one of those nuggets was part of the Omnibus Bill 1, I think we can call it, on the first day of the legislature. with the new Road Traffic or Highway Traffic Act or whatever the province has been calling it, they're going to give themselves the ability to bring photo radar into Nova Scotia. Right? Cameras, those speed cameras that we've seen on the news, that will capture you in areas that you don't see a police car and flag your license number and then mail you a ticket. I'm curious as to what your thoughts are on photo radar. Surge pricing on parking meters in downtown Halifax and the introduction of photo radar in Nova Scotia. Just two of the things that may be topics of discussion in today's open hour, which is going to happen right after this break.
Facts.
All right, welcome back. Windows 11 biting me again. Remember we were talking about this yesterday when we replaced all of the stuff here anyway. Passwords are missing and logins to different things are missing. So working my way through it. I promise I'm not a technophobe. I really do. A couple of things. This is the open hour, by the way. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. If you want to join the program, chat about whatever it is that you want to talk about. That's the beauty of the open hour. That's why we do this. But there's a couple of stories that are circulating today and over the last couple of days that I'm curious to get your thoughts on. And one of them we addressed earlier in the program today when we had a conversation with the District 7 Councillor Laura White, who was telling us a little bit about a motion that has been passed by council to have staff start to examine two things. One is to create a district that would share in parking revenues for like the business improvement districts, the BIDs as they were calling them at council meeting. That's areas like downtown Halifax, downtown Dartmouth, of course, Spring Garden Road. They could use some of the money generated from parking meters to help do beautification projects and so on and so forth. But the one that really caught my attention as part of that was the second part of that motion, and that was to have staff explore the option of dynamic pricing for those parking meters downtown. And for those of you who don't know what dynamic pricing is, that's when the HRM or the authorities have the ability to change pricing on the fly. The acting CAO at the meeting, who's Brad Anguish, had said that they're exploring technology. They don't have it yet, but they're exploring technology that would allow some central location. We don't even know, it probably is the parking authority, to change pricing on a street, in an area, in a zone, based on demand, or if there's the potential for a large crowd of people to show up, like, I don't know, a concert downtown or a hockey game or one of the fantastic festivals like buskers and when we have the tall ships in and that kind of thing, to try and convince people. This was the spiel at council, to try and convince people not to park for as long in that spot, to have people move on so that frees that spot up and allows somebody else to park there. Is this good planning? Or is this just feel like it's another, I don't want to even call it, I guess parking fees are a tax, but it just feels like they're digging into your pocket a little bit more for something that you're already paying for. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. The other thing that caught my attention, we'll get to the phones very quickly, is that the Nova Scotia government will now, quote, consider electronic enforcement in the future. That opens the door, according to this article in the Herald, to the implementation of photo radar, red light cameras, and intersection cameras to catch drivers speeding on streets and on highways. We've seen a revolt, can we call it that, in Ontario, where people are finding these cameras and they're damaging them, to the point now where that province's premier, Doug Ford, who's a pretty good friend of Tim Houston, is pulling them. He's getting rid of them. Is that something we should have here in Nova Scotia, photo radar, red light cameras and intersection cameras to control the speeding, to control the red light running, to control some of the issues that we've seen between cars and pedestrians. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255 are the numbers. Let us begin with David. David, how are you?
Hi, Dan. Yeah, I just want to make a couple quick points about, dynamic or surge pricing for parking. The sort of purpose of dynamic pricing is to change behavior. So that means that there actually has to be options available, for you to park elsewhere. Otherwise, you're just going to pay higher prices depending on the time of day when you have no other choice. But the other thing is important is just to advertise those options. So, if the price is higher at one street because of, dynamic demand, pricing or whatever, and then there's a cheaper street a couple blocks over, but you don't know about that, the only option is just to sort of drive around aimlessly, sort of randomly trying different parking meters to see sort of what the price is. So you have
and
to
you may not even,
sorry,
David, and you may not even know that, because if you listen to our interview with Councillor White, it may be based on, that one car leaves and that price changes. So that it could change before you even park in that spot.
Yeah, okay, so definitely that means that you have to find out a way to sort of see, like, okay, where are the cheaper options available? So, I mean, I guess that would probably, online via smartphones and stuff like that. So, which is fine, I guess. Most people have those nowadays, and perhaps older generations might not be driving anyway. So, lack of access to cell phones and, the internet and stuff like that might not be such an issue. But yeah, it's just basically that there has to be options available, other parking spots or public transportation, and that they just have to have a system available to sort of make those, the information on the pricing, known to people so they can make those choices in an informed manner.
So you think it's a good idea?
Well, I not knowing much about it. I mean, it's sort of, we talked about like last week how like price increases and, obviously price increases hurt. But on the other sense that they're not necessarily a bad thing because that's how the economy rations resources. So it's sort of, you can have other methods than pricing to sort of ration resources. Queuing is one, lottery is another. So I guess sort of queuing is what we use right now for parking, where it's sort of like, first come, first serve, and you're lucky enough, you grab a sweet parking spot and maybe not, you get another one. So, I mean, it makes parking available to those who really need it and are willing to pay the higher price. So I guess in that sense, it's a good thing. It's sort of like, lumber during the pandemic. Like, yeah, it definitely sucks to have to pay twice as much for your lumber and stuff like that. But it also means that if your roof caves in and you need lumber really, really bad, you can walk into the hardware store and get it. Where if it's sort of rationed, based on a queuing basis, you might have the greatest need, but because someone else who just happened to be willing to stand in line for 8 hours gets it first and then, resells it to someone else or, uses it for something not quite as important. So it's a tough question. How do you ration resources equitably and efficiently,
without it feeling like we're getting just yet another tax increase?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's, and that's sort of like the same with congestion charging, right? Where it's sort of, I lived in London, England when they first brought it in. I mean, I don't know how it worked out for them, but it sort of generated a lot of revenue. But yeah, to a lot of people, it's just like, oh, great, now I got to drive to work every day, and now I'm just paying an extra, $20 a day kind of thing. So it's sort of, I guess that just depends on the public buy-in as well too, and sort of what you're going to use the money for, and how you sort of make available the sort of, information on what you're actually spending it on, for whether or not people support it. But yeah, just a couple technical points in terms of just how it's set up and stuff, that if you don't have options or you don't make available information on the options, it doesn't serve any purpose, and it would basically just be higher prices. If you do have options that are available and you make that sort of those choices known, then yeah, potentially there could be benefits. So.
David, appreciate it, sir.
Right on. Thanks, Dan.
Have a good one. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Got an email from Dan. Says, hey, Dan, are you suggesting council will be removing free parking after 6? You keep saying surge pricing parking for concerts, hockey games, etc. Currently, these events typically happen after 6. What do you know? Well, I don't know a whole lot, but I can tell you that I watched the debate at council on Tuesday night, and I think it was even the acting CAO said one of the examples was a hockey game. So there's that. Now, he could have been referring to those afternoon games, but that's weekend parking. Is that going to change? I think there's still a lot of unknowns with regards to this because, the staff report is still to come back, and council will obviously have to review that once it's done. But that all being said, there would be the potential that they would do that, or that they would increase the parking rates substantially when there was a big event downtown. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. The open hour continues right after the break.
Facts.
Welcome back. This is the Thursday edition of the Open Hour. The lines are open, 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. A couple of items up for discussion today. One of them, of course, is a proposal. And I'm going to be very clear. It is a proposal. It's not passed. But it's something that was debated for a bit at Regional Council on Tuesday and has now gone forward for staff to take a look back and come back at with a report. And that is surge pricing for parking spaces downtown. The theory behind the increase in price would be to move people along, so to speak, that park downtown to free up parking spaces. Councillor White, during our interview earlier in the day, saying that the downtown street parking spaces are the most in demand, and that's why they would focus on this. What surge pricing is, for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, it's done in a number of different things. Particularly, the one that comes to mind for me is the ride-sharing programs. That when it gets busy and their cars are busy, they increase the rate that they charge their customers. They call it surge pricing. But dynamic pricing is the technical term for the whole thing. But essentially, what would happen is that if a street or a region or an area of downtown Halifax was seeing an increase in demand, they would have the ability to change the rate that they charge you per hour, per half hour, whatever the rate is. I think don't they charge it by the minute? But anyway, it would be increased. And automatically, so you wouldn't even know. You could slide into a spot that somebody paid, and I'm using just for round math, that was paying $1 an hour to use, and because the computer decides that it's busy, now it's $1.75 an hour, and that would be the idea. The idea is to move you along. I'm curious as to what you think. Also, the province opening the door to bringing some technology into the streets and highways around Nova Scotia. Photo radar, red light cameras, traffic intersection cameras, and how that would work. For instance, a photo radar would be, you're driving along in a zone, and this thing captures your speed and then captures your license plate and then emails you a ticket. Other jurisdictions have been using this for a long time. Other places like Ontario are planning to get rid of theirs. I'm curious what you think. Is photo radar or red light cameras a good idea here in Nova Scotia? 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Chris is on the line. Chris, how are you?
Hi, Dan. How are you?
Good. What's on your mind?
Well, guess.
I thought of you immediately when I had this interview today.
Yeah. Well, I don't know where to start, Dan. This is outrageous. I mean, this council has got to be stopped. And people out there, listen to what I'm saying, because they are beyond out of control. You were mentioning earlier, Dan, that there's a lot of unknowns about this system. Well, there is one thing that's very well known. It's a friggin' money grab, right. A tax grab, and it's in my opinion, another nail in the coffin for downtown business. How can you consider having traffic move along quicker? The reason people go downtown in many cases is to do business with the businesses downtown, be it a restaurant, a coffee shop, a clothing store, a drugstore, the bank, whatever it might be. That's what you go down there for the most part. You want people to stay downtown as long as possible because they become engaged with what's going on down there, and they end up spending more money. And to say that, we're going to give part of this to the downtown businesses so that they can use, or the business commission or whatever, to use it for beautification. Those businesses are paying high enough taxes now. There should be no problem with the city keeping the place neat and tidy and having downtown beautification. I mentioned this during the election last year, that I did not agree with Laura White being able to run for District 7 because she lives in District 9. This underscores my opinion exactly. She has no interest, in my opinion, in doing anything that's best for District 7, and she has done nothing and voted on nothing that will benefit District 7.
Well, this would also impact, and Chris, I understand your point, but this would also impact District 9 as well.
Of course, it'll impact a lot of them, but I think the district having the hardest time right now is District 7, especially the businesses on District 7. I mean, when was the last time you went downtown, Dan, to do some business or some shopping?
I think it was about 3 weeks ago I was down there. I had to do some business downtown. Yep.
I live in the South End. I live in District 7, and I rarely go down there because it's such a cluster, of problems that, I go where I can find a parking spot easily, get there easily, stay as long as I need to stay without being worried about being towed or whatever the case might be. And that's what a lot of people do. I talk to so many people, Dan, and they say, I avoid downtown. They've made it such a mess down there. It's a horror story. It's hell. It's a nightmare. All these terms. I don't even go. I hear this from people all the time, and not from people that live in Clayton Park or Fairview or Spryfield, places that are farther away, but people who live on the friggin' peninsula. Downtown should be the destination point for most people. First choice when you live on the peninsula should be to go downtown,
right.
But it's not. Staff will return a report, as they always do, that supports what they perceive that council wants. Have you ever seen council ask for a staff report on something that they don't want to implement?
Dartmouth Cove. It was this week.
What's that? I'm sorry?
The Dartmouth Cove staff report, they defeated that staff report this week.
Oh, well, that's good. I'm glad about that one. But it would be interesting to see what the Spring Garden Road Merchants Association and Sue UTEC have to say about this, because this is not an idea, and it's going to be after 6 o'clock as well. For Laura to get on there and say, some of the times it might be zero charges, that ain't never going to happen.
Right.
Come on,
That's my biggest fear, Chris, is that when we go through this route, that they're going to get rid of that free parking after 6. And the CAO, the acting CEO, he mentioned outright hockey games, and most of those happen at 7 o'clock at night.
There's very few hockey games that don't happen after 6 o'clock.
Yes, sir.
And very, very few big events that draw. We want to draw people in to spend money down. That's the whole point of opening a business downtown, or a business in general anyway, is to generate revenue. And when your government, your local government, that benefits from how well the businesses do, because if businesses do well and they can pay their property taxes, it's a money stream that the city can be guaranteed of. But if they don't do well and you have vacant buildings, they're not getting the tax revenue. And anything that you do to keep people away from downtown, cost-wise, parking, whatever it happens to be, it hurts the business, it hurts the tax revenues, it hurts everybody that lives here. And this is the wrong thing, but it's a money grab, and that's what they're looking for. The same as with the deed transfer tax. They're looking everywhere they can so they can help deflect the increases, in my opinion, deflect the increases of what they're going to have for property taxes, so that they're going to grab your taxes somewhere else. It's all the same money. It doesn't matter which hand or which pocket they have their hand in of mine. They're getting too much money out of me as it is right now.
Chris, busy phones. Going to let you go.
Thank you.
902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Let's welcome Lewis to the show. Lewis, how are you?
Yeah, good morning, Dan. I'm doing great.
What's on your mind?
I had to call in when you started talking about this parking. I was born and raised in Halifax, and I still live in the Halifax HRM area. I'm outside of the city a little bit, but I consider myself a resident of Halifax. Since this new parking, these electronic meters, I'll call them, where you put your card on and away you go.
Yep.
I haven't been in town in 3 years.
Really?
I refuse to go in. Absolutely refuse to.
Huh.
You can't find a parking place for one thing, and because it's all taken up with lane reductions and bus lanes and bicycle lanes. I just refuse. I have not been in the city of Halifax, the core, I'll say Spring Garden Road, Barrington Street, Kumple Road, in around there, in over 3 years.
Holy smokes.
Yep. And the council, in my opinion, have lost it. They don't know what they're doing. And I hear everybody talking about staff. Staff and this staff. Who is this staff? Where did they come from?
Well, they all work for the city, right? Each department has a bunch of staff, and they go and study this stuff, and they report back to council. Well, it's through the CAO to council. Well, I mean, I would imagine each department has a different set of credentials, right? But to be honest, I don't know who the individuals are.
Yeah, I suspect that most of the staff people are friends that got hired by the guy that got elected in his district.
Some of them have been with the city for a number of years, so that might be difficult to do. But anyway, Lewis, I get your point. I appreciate the call.
All right, sir.
Have a good one. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Very quickly before we go to the break, this email came in from Mark. Says, whenever I go downtown, I go directly to the Halifax Central Library Parkade. Out of the elements, $2 an hour. No stress, no wasting time, no looking for a spot on the street. Cheaper, win-win. And I know many people, Mark, that agree with you, and they will go to the garages and they will go to those facilities. But it was brought up during the debate. What about the contractor that's got to work downtown and has the ladders on top of the truck and they don't fit in the parkades? I can appreciate that, right? I'm a street parker, so it's certainly going to, if you can. Hey, that's a great idea. But for some of us, we just don't and can't. The debate's going to continue after the news. The open hour continues right up until noon. I hope you can join us. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Back after the break. Another beautiful Thursday in HRM as the sun shines down. I hear it's going to change. I hear there's some rain on the way tonight and into tomorrow, and I know that many of you have been looking towards the skies for some rain. Alistair Alder's telling us about, 20 millimeters, and it could be more depending if we get those downpours, those embedded downpours as they're called. So I know that many of you, perhaps your gardens are done for the year, but I know there's still lots of people on wells that are watching those water levels pretty close, and of course the whole Lake Major situation. Hopefully this 20 millimeters will help. I know that they're starting to see some improvement there, but hopefully this will add to it and we can get off those restrictions and carry on into fall. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. The open hour continues with Gloria. Gloria, how are you?
I'm great, Dan. How are you? I'm doing the rain dance today.
We can see you all the way over there in Dartmouth.
Dan, I have a question.
Sure.
You watched the council the other night.
I did.
Would you say that many have already made up their minds?
It was interesting because they split that thing, right? There was two parts that were included in one, and they split it. And some said they could support it with, or some said that they couldn't support without. But at the end of the day, they supported. Yeah,
on the bylaw.
Oh, on Dartmouth Cove, you're talking about.
Yes.
Yeah, no,
yes.
That felt to me like it was that their minds are made up, and
okay.
After that debate.
You know, the purpose of a public hearing,
right,
is to allow the public to provide input,
right,
and information on matters like bylaws. Municipal councillors are legally required to approach decision-making with an open mind and be prepared to be persuaded by the arguments.
Right. Let me ask you...
Do you think they put themselves in a conflict?
Let me ask you this question, Gloria. With your time on council, both on the Dartmouth side and here in HRM, when you had a flood of emails coming in, that we've been told have come in, from people that are opposed to an idea.
Oh, yeah, I faced that with the Brightwood Golf Course, many of them.
Right, and did you still go into that without your mind made up?
But you don't we were always cautioned, Dan.
Right.
When I was on council, the solicitor would always caution us.
Right.
Be very careful what you say.
Yes. So
I'm sure if
we called up a counselor right now and asked them if their mind was made up, they say, "Well, no, we're going to wait for the."
Oh yeah,
right?
Yeah, I know.
I hear you.
I know, but it's a mockery. I mean, they know. You know, I have no problem with the bylaw, but I think they did the same in South End Halifax with the Accelerator Fund. They all had their mind made up because they had to say yes to get the money, but yet they brought people in and listened to them for hours and then unanimously voted against them.
Right. The public hearing and the vote will be interesting, but if I'm reading...
I don't think the solicitor is giving them very good advice.
Well, they spent a lot of time in camera on that issue, did they not?
Yeah, I know they did. But I don't think they're getting very good advice because you have to be very careful what you say.
Right.
And you know, try to keep an open mind.
It feels
like...
you
have to be careful with your comments.
Right. And I don't have access to their emails, obviously, but it feels like the Dartmouth community really wants this infilling to stop in that cause.
Well, of course they do. We know that.
Right.
But I mean, you have to be very careful if you're, the person. Does he have a right now to go out and say this public hearing wasn't a real public hearing?
Well, perhaps, yeah.
I don't know, but I think they should have been a little more careful in what they were saying and being so vocal about it. I mean, they could have voted to have the public hearing, and that was enough.
What's your thoughts on surge pricing on parking meters?
I agree with Chris.
Right.
Here we are, businesses having a hard time, trying to survive, and we want another money grab, and that's all it is, another money grab. And, I agree totally with Chris. But anyway, that's my feeling on the public hearing. And as I said, I have no problem with them putting the bylaw forward, but I think there's argument there that they're not going in there with an open mind.
Gloria, as always, I appreciate your calls.
Thanks. Bye.
902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Let's welcome Jim to the program. Jim, how are you?
Good morning, Dan. How you been?
I haven't heard from you in a while.
Yeah, I've been quite busy downtown.
Let me guess what you want to talk about.
Listen, I go down there a lot. My doctor's down there, and I go down for coffee sometimes. And I mean, basically, in Halifax and Dartmouth, there aren't many, venues or allow parking for any length of time. Really, there's not enough. So I hope that they don't go ahead with this. The times are tough as it is. Just leave the parking alone. Make it decent, cost a decent time, an hour or two, whatever. If you're going in for something, and that is a money grab. That looks like they're just trying to get as much revenue as they can.
Jim, the theory behind it, if you listen to our I'm sure you did listen to our conversation with Councillor White, is that if they increase the prices, that people will move on quicker and create more parking spaces.
Well, I don't know if that'll work. Maybe that's an experiment they might want to try, but I don't think it'll work. What people look for is an easy way to put your money in, number one,
right,
and find a place to park to begin with in Halifax and or Dartmouth.
Not easy.
The reason why I really did call was for the photo radar stuff.
Right, figured you would.
Yeah, I hope the legislation comes through. For one reason in particular, red lights.
Mm-hmm.
My God, they have crosswalks there, and I could probably name 4 or 5 intersections where I usually sit there in the morning and have coffee sometimes and just watch these vehicles that are jumping those red lights. And the HRP, they're not doing enough traffic enforcement because they have shortage of staff and whatever reasons they might give, so they need all the help they can get. But what I do like about the photo radar beside the red lights are the speed radar ones where you can pick them up and you can literally take them and put them else in neighborhoods that are real bad, and you can move them around for strategic purposes. Now, there'll be some vandalism on those like there usually is. They'll tip a few over. But overall, I would certainly like to see it and see how it works. It'd be great.
Jim, appreciate the call as always, sir.
Yeah, take care.
902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Halifax Regional Council now asking for a staff report on surge pricing for parking meters. And the province is part of a pretty big bill that they unveiled. Is that the right word? Introduced probably is the right word. Earlier this week. And the legislature, one of the components of that would open the door to what Jim was just discussing, photo radar, red light cameras, intersection cameras. How it works is if you were speeding in an area, it takes a picture of your license plate, mails you a ticket, and then either you can fight it or you pay it. Your thoughts on that? Your thoughts on surge pricing? 902-405-6000. Let's welcome Patricia to the program. Patricia, how are you?
Good morning. Yes. I'm calling the same as Jim about the photo radar.
Sure.
I think it's great, and I have no idea what took us so long to come up with the idea, because it's the perfect thing. You commit the crime, you pay the fine. It's just simple as that.
And you can stick them anywhere, right?
Yeah. And as Jim said, the speeding and the running red lights is out of control in the city and in Halifax, Dartmouth area.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a wonderful thing, and the money that it puts into the coffers is a bonus,
right?
Because we're always saying we can't afford this and we can't afford that. So I think it's a perfect solution. You have no recourse. You
always have recourse. You can go and fight the ticket, but you're right.
You can fight it if you want to, but No, I think it's great, and I hope that they all agree, and it becomes a fact here in Nova Scotia. I've lived in other provinces that have had it, and
right.
You do smarten up after a while. After
they start showing up in the mailbox.
Yeah, exactly. It's like that too. You only do it once, and you'll pay attention next time. And if you can't read English, I mean, the sign is there, so
right.
Maybe you shouldn't be driving at all.
Patricia, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a great day. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. The open hour continues right after the break. Welcome back. This is the open hour, 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. A couple of lines open if you want to get in before the top of the hour. We're talking about parking rates and parking meters and surge pricing on those meters and photo radar. The province opening the window to photo radar and red light cameras as part of its big omnibus bill or legislation it introduced earlier this week. My thoughts and your thoughts on the whole thing is what we're discussing here. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Let's welcome Ken to the program. Ken, how are you?
Good, Dan. How are you?
Good. It's on your mind, sir.
Oh, I was just noticing there you had the two hardest working councillors in HRM on there this morning.
Okay. Who's that?
Just a little bit of sarcasm if you didn't catch that.
I kind of thought so, but anyway, what's on your mind?
When you were talking to Sam this morning, he was
right.
talking about the Cove, and he said, he was listening to the constituents and everybody was overwhelmingly against the Cove, getting filled in and all that. Well,
right.
Why is he still going ahead with bike lanes?
That's a fair question.
Everybody is overwhelming against the bike lanes, and he keeps saying, "Oh, well, that's what I ran my campaign on," and you can look at it. That's a load of crap, right? And then there's Laura. There's another one for the bike lanes. I still got to shake my head when it goes from 25 million to 90-something million or 100 million, whatever it's at now, and she says it would be stupid not to continue. I got to shake my head on that. And maybe, if you're getting her to come on the radio and talk about something that she implemented, maybe you should give her 2 weeks' notice so she can answer a question when you actually ask her one.
Oh, right. People people have different ways of communicating, and we're not going to pick at her for that, Ken. We'll pick at her for policy, right? But we're not going to pick at her for that.
Okay, so let's chase everybody out of downtown, like the upping the prices at hotels and everything during, let's say, the juniors competition or
right.
curling or concert.
It happens all the time, right?
Yeah, let's gouge them some more on the streets.
Right.
I mean, the stupidest thing, Dan, I seen every day when I was running the whole term was the tow trucks down there at 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock, waiting to hook everybody up and pull them out to charge them.
Right.
It's crazy. And who's on the back of the hooks? Mostly all out of province plates.
Right.
Now there's an encouragement to come back to Halifax.
Fair point.
Well, I got to go find my car at an impound station now. It's like they really got which this really would apply to Tony. Also, you really need to shake your head, right, and think about what you're implementing. It's crazy. Like all it is a tax grab. That ain't going to change nothing downtown.
Ken, appreciate the call, sir. Have a good one. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. When just listening to Ken there, one of the interesting parts of the debate about this surge pricing on parking meters in downtown Halifax came from the District 13 councillor, Nancy Hartling, who said that, hey, wait a minute, this is another fee that people that live outside of the downtown core are going to have to pay. If you live downtown, you don't have to worry about parking. You're already paying for it in the building that you live in or wherever your parking arrangements are. But people like are traveling into the downtown core to do business, as Ken was talking about, are going to have to pay this fee. And Councillor Hartling said this may be an unfair charge for people outside of the Halifax Peninsula, which is an interesting take on it. Something that I hadn't considered until I saw that on the debate during Council's meeting on Tuesday. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Let's welcome Mike to the show. Mike, how are you?
I'm good, sir. Listen, you're doing a great job, and I never heard what happened to Todd. Is he okay?
Todd's is taking some time off to focus on his health. I can't really reveal much more, Mike, because obviously it's a personal issue. But he is hearing from all y'all and sending their positive thoughts, and he's truly appreciative. He hopes to be back in the chair by the end of the year.
Yep. No, that's good, buddy. I wish him well, and he's going through a real tough time, and everybody that's had stuff going on with their bodies, and that it's not fun. Yep. Anyway, listen, the photo cameras. I mean, we're talking about the downtown parking and how that seems to be a money grab with the meters. And would not the photo cameras be pretty much the same idea?
Well, I'll disagree with you there, Mike. And the reason why I'll do that is that we know that there's a posted speed limit, right? And it wouldn't be charging you if you were following the rules.
Yeah, but here's the thing. We could, and we should have done this a long time ago, we could be creating a lot more jobs around here by hiring. Our traffic division is, from what I see on the roads every day, pretty much null and void. And that would be a bunch of jobs. And it just seems to me that every move they're making, you look at the millions and millions of dollars they spent on all those speed humps. That was, a way to try and control them. But if you've ever been in those subdivisions and stuff, the people that live there and people I see driving through them every day, and I live in Colby, and they just fly right over those friggin' things. Like, it's going to create revenue when they need to put new shocks on their vehicle. But anyway, I just see this as get out and do some good old-fashioned police work and hire these guys. And I when I was in Vancouver, they had that system a little bit. It wasn't top-heavy. It wasn't so much for speeding. It was more for light situations and crosswalks. But I don't know. I just see it as just lazy. Like, let's get some jobs. Let's hire some more policemen. Get them out there on the roads. Good salaries, good pensions. I think it's kind of like putting in the self checkouts at all the stores and shops, and that's the same kind of thing to me. It's just a matter of cutting back on staff. And anyway, that's kind of how I'm looking at those things.
Hey, Mike, before you go, Mike, when you were in Vancouver and they had the red light cameras there, did it change the way you drove? Did you pay more attention to those red lights?
Not really. I think if they're all over the place for speeding and things like that, but you never knew which set of lights they were at or anything.
Right.
Also, in Vancouver, a lot of intersections will have a flashing yellow light ways away from the intersection, which tells you that the light's going to change.
Yes.
And they don't have that delay like we have here. When the light turns yellow here, there's a delay system where the other light going in the other direction won't turn green for a couple of seconds. So people know that. I watch them. They see the yellow, see people speed up when they really had lots of time to stop. So you won't know where they're at. So it's kind of like you drive the way you drive. So, yeah, some people will be dinged all over the place. But anyway, buddy, you have a great day, and you're doing a great job.
Appreciate it, Mike. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. I think where I'm landing on that, on the red light cameras and the photo radar is I have trouble calling that a tax grab, because it's not like it's penalizing you for being on the road. What it's doing is it's enforcing the rules that are already there. Those speed limits are there. Now, I know there are some zones where the speed limits are ridiculous, and I can think of the 102 coming in onto Bears Road every day where, it goes from that 90 to that 50 on the bridge, and nobody goes that speed limit. But will it change behavior if you don't know where these things are and you're like, geez, I don't want to get another ticket? That red light cameras are all over the place, and as Mike said, we don't know where they are. Those speed cameras, they're a little more overt. You can see them, but does that slow people down? Does that act as the pace car, as I like to call it, on the 102 when I'm driving in and there's a police car, an HRP car, or an RCMP car, and everybody kind of is behind it and won't pass it because they're worried about getting a speeding ticket? Would it make the road safer? I guess that's out of my expertise. I would think it would if we're slowing people down. But the surge pricing on the parking meters, to me, feels like this is just another way to get more money out of my wallet, because I have to park. If we're going to something downtown, we have to park. We know that there are parkades available, but that's not an option for everybody. And if I want to go to my doctor's office, if I want to go to see a business downtown, I want to go and buy something, I want to go to walk on the waterfront, I got to park somewhere, right? And because it's busy, to raise the price, and I don't know what I'm paying for parking, I think that's not going to sit well with lots of people here in HRM. I appreciate you all for dialing the numbers and joining the program. You truly make my day when you do it. We're going to stop. We're going to take another break. On the other side of the show, of course, afternoon, where the show continues, it certainly does, we're going to dig a little bit into a support circle that is being developed for those who are dealing with suicide in their family. Natasha Brubaker, the founder of this support group, will be joining us on the show. You're listening to the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Ulstrand. We're back in minutes.
Halifax.
All right, welcome back to the Todd Veinotte Show. Dan Ulstrand along with you here on this, the Thursday, as we like to call it, the Friday Eve edition of the program. There's a new support group that's being created for suicide loss survivors, giving a lasting space to grieve and heal and connect. Founded by Natasha Brubaker, who the Antigonish Support Group received some funding last year from the Antigonish Town and Country Community Health Board to offer some public monthly health sessions at St. Paul's Anglican Church. Brubaker, who is, of course, an Anglican priest, moved to the Antigonish County in 2022 to begin working with the Three Harbors Parish soon after, and then began to host these meetings. We're very pleased to welcome to the program the aforementioned Natasha Brubaker, who is on the phone with us. Natasha, appreciate you joining us.
Oh, appreciate you having me. Thank you very much.
So you started doing this kind of support group outside of Nova Scotia before you moved here, am I correct?
Yes, you are. So I myself am a suicide loss. Have had that in my life. Sorry, right. It's been a busy morning, so let me just catch my breath here so
Understood.
far. So I lost my mother to suicide when I was 19, so many years ago. So it's a personal experience of mine. And one of the first parishes that I worked at, which was actually down in Richmond, Virginia, we had a number of deaths due to suicide within the community within a very short amount of time. And so myself and another parishioner who was a trained therapist started a support group for those who have lost someone to suicide. So that was about 20 plus years ago that happened. When I moved here, similar situation, I became aware of a couple of young people who had died by suicide and was looking around to say, well, where might they go for support? I didn't know them directly. They weren't part of my parish directly, but it's a small community, particularly here in Antigonish and Guysborough counties and Pictou, right? So people know each other. And I had learned of it through the grapevine, so to speak. And in my looking around, I realized there really wasn't anything at all up here, and I was not okay with that. So I made some calls, reached out to different people, and was able to connect with a wonderful, recently retired social worker named Marie Meir, without whom I couldn't have done this. And we started this once a month drop-in support group. It's a combination of people just sharing their stories or listening to others who have walked this road if they're not ready to share, but also providing some context and education and learning about how grief works, in particularly traumatic loss and traumatic grief. And through that, another friend of mine said, have you heard about these Nova Scotia Community Health and Wellness grants? You should apply. And I did. And we were very fortunate to receive one, which helped us really keep the program going, just to help make all those incidentals possible, right? Like paying some rent to the church for hosting us and some supplies that we might need and refreshments and things of that sort. So it was very, very critical in helping us know we had that solid footing under us to be able to continue offering the program, get it planted, get it rooted, and not be worried about any of those other things. We could just focus on creating that safe and caring space for people who were hurting and needed that space.
Natasha, I would imagine that when you have, death is a traumatic experience for everybody, no matter what the circumstances are that surround it. But I would imagine when it's an incident like this, that it's involving suicide, that brings with it a whole different set of challenges.
It does. So, yes, all death is, losing anyone that we care about or love is painful and it's hard. And that's what the word trauma means. It literally means a wound. But when a death is planned, someone has lived a good long life and we have our chance to say our goodbyes and maybe we're even able to be there at the deathbed, it hurts, but there's been time to prepare. We've been able to say things that we need to say. It's a different journey. And so in the grief world and in the clergy world and in other worlds, we do really reserve that term traumatic death or traumatic loss to certain kinds of ways that people die, as you say. And so that would include suicide, overdose, homicide, and accidents, be that a work accident or a car accident, because it is so sudden. There is no plan, no time to say goodbye. There's no time to prepare. And, it's just wrenching, right? It's shocking. And there can be other issues, social stigma or shame or blame, or the police are involved and there's an investigation. And so it brings a whole host of other things that are not normally present in other deaths. And so it does require its own space and a chance for people to to be able to talk about how it's different and how it impacts their physically.
Natasha, you mentioned that this funding that you received allowed you to create a space. What does that space look like, and how do these sessions work?
So we use a church hall at St. Paul's, and it's
We're going to put Natasha on hold, and Vanessa is going to call her back and see if we can get a better connection, because I think it's valuable information, and technology is failing us yet once again. Still to come on the show today, we have, of course, we're going to talk a little bit about tourism, and the Minister of Communities, Culture and Tourism and Heritage, Dave Ritcey, will be joining us. They've released a new strategy with regard to tourism. That's going to be part of the show. And I might have a little bit of a surprise for you at 12:30. Make sure you stick around and stay tuned for that. Let's see if we can get Natasha back. Natasha, are you there?
I'm sorry, I don't know what happened.
I think we're having cell phone issues, it feels like.
Yes. Is it at all possible to hear me now?
I can hear you now. Let's try again. You were talking about the space that you created.
Yes. So it is a 2-hour drop-in session in the parish hall. St. Paul's Anglican Church. It's the fourth Wednesday of the month, so people come.
Unfortunately, I don't think that's going to work. Natasha, I appreciate your time. We'll try to reschedule, and maybe we can get a better connection. I think this is very important. As I was talking about, still to come on the program today, we're going to have a conversation with the Minister of Tourism in Nova Scotia. They've released a new tourism strategy. We'll dig into that and what that can mean for HRM. We know we're very tourist dependent here, even though some were suggesting that the parking in downtown Halifax isn't conducive to tourism. It sees a lot of a lot of out-of-province plates that are towed away. So we'll have a conversation with Dave Ritcey when we come back. And also, we're going to listen and read some emails at 12:30 today. Got a bunch of emails on this thing today, so I think we'll take some time to do that. And in case you missed it, I'll probably mention it once more during the show. Just want to pump up our tires a little bit. And that is, I'm taking some time off on Friday and Monday. Of course, Tuesday is a holiday in Nova Scotia, so we won't be on the air, and we'll be back Wednesday. I'll be back Wednesday. But I'm taking a couple of days off to go off to a military reunion, which I'm very much looking forward to. And in my stead, Lisa Blackburn will be joining us here on the program. Lisa, of course, a longtime city councillor, two-term city councillor, and a longtime broadcaster here in Halifax. You've heard her on a bunch of different stations throughout her career. She's going to fill in. She's going to take the chair, as I like to say, and host the show on Friday and on Monday. And I know that you're looking to look forward to that, a different perspective, perhaps, from Lisa Blackburn. And we're very much looking forward to it. I know I am, and I know Vanessa is, and I hope you are too. So that's going to happen on Friday and on Monday here on the program. We talk about affordability a lot on this show, right? We talk about housing affordability. We talk about the cost of groceries. We talk about all of the things, all of the economic pressures that families and individuals are facing here in Nova Scotia. And I often raise the question because it's not my experience. I'm not a single person living and trying to make it on my own. And I'm certainly not a single mom out there or a young family, even if with both parents out there trying to make ends meet. Take a walk down a grocery aisle and take a look at the prices for young children for things, particularly diapers, which to me is I really don't know. But I'm not alone, because a Halifax mom out there has opened up a diaper bank for families who are in need, and we'll have a conversation about the Halifax Diaper Bank with Lydia O'Regan, who will be joining us after the break. You're listening to the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Alstrand. We're back in minutes.
Facts.
All right, welcome back to the Todd Veinotte Show. We're rolling through the Thursday, or the Friday Eve edition, as we like to call it here. And before the break, I mentioned that affordability has been an issue, and I think it will continue to be an issue for some time around here. And we're talking rent, and we're talking groceries, and we're talking different kinds of bills, and it just seems that there's less check, more month, if that makes any sense. And it's difficult, and my heart goes out to people who are families or perhaps single parents that are just starting out and have some young children at home, because well, let's face it, kids are expensive, right? And to factor all of that stuff in, which the daily increase in food and of course diapers and the products that babies need, it's just that an added expense, and it's a significantly large expense. And a Halifax woman is now collecting and delivering unused diapers to help families in need. This is the CBC's article. Lydia O'Regan said she was inspired to start the Halifax Diaper Bank after donating to one when she lived in Toronto. And we're very pleased to welcome to the program today the aforementioned Lydia O'Regan, who joins me on the telephone. Lydia, how are you?
Hi, Dan. I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm very glad that you could take some time to fill us in about this diaper bank today.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
So you got the idea, you were inspired to do this after you were contributing to one when you were living in Toronto.
Yes, that's right. So I'm originally from the HRM, but I had been living in Toronto for the last 8 years, and that's where I met my spouse, and we had our son, who's now 2. But when he was in those first few months of growing up, he, you go through diapers. Quite a lot of diapers.
Lots of diapers.
Lots of diapers and lots of leftovers, because they grow so fast and They're moving up sizes at quite a clip. So I would often donate to Toronto's diaper bank, which is massive and it's very well organized. And they have diaper drop-off spots in many different areas of the city. It was super convenient, and it was, it felt good to make sure your diapers were going to a good cause. So my family and I decided to move back to the HRM August 1st. And when I got here, I looked into where I can donate diapers here and discovered that there isn't a diaper bank in the HRM. So in researching a little bit further, I realized that if you wanted to donate diapers, it isn't really easy. If you try to donate to a food bank or a community resource center, a shelter, oftentimes they're looking for new diapers, new packs, of course, that are unopened, boxes that are sealed. And that really wasn't what I was looking to do. I had all these leftover loose diapers or open sleeves that were just laying around. So I thought, well, if it's this hard to donate diapers, what if you need support? And then looking into that, I realized that it's not very easy if you're looking for support either. You need appointment times at a lot of these resource centers, or they're very rigid drop-in hours. And then, of course, you need your own transportation, so that's another barrier. And I thought, you know what, this is just too hard, and I have the means, I have a vehicle, I have the space. I'm going to do my best to make it easier for those new parents.
Well, good for you. It's nice to see community in action. So tell me a little bit about how this all works and how, we'll begin with the donation part. How do people donate to the bank?
Okay, so the easiest way is through my Facebook page, the Halifax Diaper Bank. Honestly, you can just send me a message, let me know your location, what you have. I can facilitate picking it up from you directly. I also have quite a few different diaper drop zones, I like to call them, that are areas around the city where I have some trusted friends and relatives that have been so generous to open up their front porches to my cause. And you can drop diapers off there anytime. I have them in Clayton Park, Fairview, Lower Sackville, Lawrencetown, downtown Dartmouth, and Rockingham Ridge area.
Up until we had this interview today, Lydia, diaper drop zone had a whole different meaning to me.
Exactly, right? I know. I'm putting a spin on it.
Fair enough. And once those diapers are dropped off, then you obviously collect them, and then how do they get distributed? Where do they go? How does that work?
Right. So I go through the diapers, especially if they're open or loose. I make sure they're in decent condition, a condition that I would feel comfortable putting on my baby.
Right.
And then I sort them. So I stick brands together and sizes together to make sure, some babies are picky. They only like certain brands for the fit or the feel. They're allergic to certain brands. So I want to make sure that I'm keeping all of a specific brand together.
Cool. Fair. Okay.
Yeah. And then I am fielding messages on my Facebook page from families that are in need, and I'm delivering them out to them usually within about 24 hours. I'll drop off the diapers. I also have wipes and diaper cream as well. And I either drop them off at a meetup spot, or I go directly to their residence and either leave them on the porch or, meet the families and have a quick conversation with them and give them the diapers that way.
So you're not only collecting them, you're delivering them as well.
That's right. Yeah.
Holy
so
smokes.
Delivering is, it's a lot of driving.
Right.
The delivering is definitely the priority. So I look at I have a little Excel spreadsheet. So I start my day by looking at my spreadsheet and seeing, okay, where can I go today to deliver the quickest and the easiest route? And then the pickups come as sort of a secondary priority to get my stash up.
How's the uptake been? Is it are you busy, I guess is the question?
I am so busy.
Right.
I'm so busy. It's fantastic. I have been swamped with messages from generous people all over the HRM that are looking to donate to the cause. I also have an Amazon wish list on my Facebook page, so people can donate that way as well. So I'm, getting diapers pretty much all day long, and also, unfortunately, also swamped with requests for help as well.
Right.
So, yeah, I definitely prioritize those. But, it's been crazy busy at the diaper bank, crazy busy.
Lydia,
but I love it. It's very rewarding, and it's, you're making a difference.
Right. And is it just you, or do you have people helping you, or are you on your own?
So for the first week, because the diaper bank is only 3 weeks old,
right.
The first week it was just me. And I didn't really expect it to grow as much as it did. And I thought very quickly, I realized, oh, I'm going to need help. So I've been rallying the troops, my friends, my family, my cousins, just getting them to help me mainly with the pickups.
Right.
Because there is there's some discretion that's involved as well with the deliveries. They want to make sure, that I'm being respectful to the families that need my help.
Understood.
Yeah. So it's definitely lightened the load for sure to have so many people that are willing to be drop zones for me or willing to actually go out and get deliveries for me as well.
Lydia, we're almost out of time. If somebody wants to take part, either they have a whole bunch of diapers at home or they want to take part in the program, what's the easiest way to do that?
Easiest way is to message me on Facebook. We can sort out whether or not you want to be a drop zone or you can pick up or do some deliveries for me. That would be fantastic. It's Halifax Diaper Bank on Facebook. And my phone number is also as well on the Facebook page if you want to give me a call and we can chat about how you can best support my cause.
Lydia, it's just refreshing to hear people, stepping up for their community and just doing it out of the kindness of their heart. I do appreciate your time. I know you're extremely busy. You're up to your eyebrows in diapers.
Yes, I am. Thank you so much.
That is Lydia O'Regan, and it is the Halifax Diaper Bank. And it's just, wow, right? We often hear that people and particularly young people just don't care about their communities anymore. Well, there's an example where somebody does and is doing something about it and doing it for nothing, right? More power to her. That's a fantastic cause. We're going to stop and take another break. When we come back, I might have a surprise for you. Make sure you stay tuned. You're listening to The Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Ahlstrom. We're back in minutes. Welcome back to the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Ahlstrom, along with you here now on a Thursday afternoon. And from time to time, we do our very best to try and jam these segments right full of interesting guests so that you get a wide perspective of what's going on in the world. Sometimes we book things and sometimes it falls through, and sometimes we get what we call an open segment, which gives us an opportunity to do some things and to catch up on some emails. I know I get the odd criticism on the email that I don't read enough of them on the air, so this is going to give us a chance to get a few of those out and offer some of my thoughts on them. And what else we do here on the program from time to time is that when our beloved Halifax Mooseheads have a home stand, like, I don't know, say this weekend, say at Scotiabank, say on Friday or Saturday night, I guess Friday and Saturday night, against St. John, cross-provincial rival. From time to time, Vanessa digs into the prize cabinet that we have here, and every once in a while, she shakes it hard enough and tickets fall out. Well, folks, I can tell you that she shook it pretty hard today because we have a pair of tickets to Friday night's game and a pair of tickets to Saturday night's contest. Halifax Mooseheads, St. John Sea Dogs. Mooseheads 1-1 to start the season, looking to capitalize on their cross-provincial rivalry against St. John. If you want to go to Friday night or Saturday night's game, here's your opportunity. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Again, 1-877-801-8255, 902-405-6000. We'll take callers. Vanessa, tell me, what are we going to do? 5 and 7. All right, there you go. Vanessa picks the numbers. It's not my fault. Best of luck, and go Moose, go. Boy, they had a pretty electric home opener there on Saturday night. If you were along with us to catch the action live on the radio, or if you were at I almost said Metro Centre again. I know it's been Scotiabank Centre for a long time. But old habits are hard to break. Anyway, Scotiabank Centre, I think there was 8,200 fans at the game, which is fantastic. It was electric. Bunch of new stuff there this year. New concessions. They get that new advertising ribbon that everybody's talking about. And the Moose, of course, winning that game in dramatic fashion. Give us all a little bit of a heart attack after giving up a lead and then going to overtime, and overtime not solving anything, and then the Moose coming out on top after the shootout. So 1-on-1 to start this young season, of course, and a season that I know many are looking forward to. So if you haven't been before, or if you haven't been for a long time, I suggest, if you don't get down there this weekend, but make plans to go and catch a game or two this year, because the production value of what's going on there at Scotiabank Centre is elevated. I've been to NHL games that had less production value than those Moose games have. So it's a fun night out for you and for the family. And I hope that you can get out there and enjoy it, because it is a lot of fun. I can really tell you that the kids love it. The mascots are there. There's lights and laser shows and all kinds of things. And, hey, it's great hockey to watch. And it gets us primed up for the season, right? So Vanessa's going to work busily, I should say, getting those names of those winners. And for those of you who won, congratulations. For those of you that didn't, make sure you stay tuned when the Moose are in town, because you just never know when the Vanessa's going to shake that drawer, the prize drawer that we have, and those tickets will fall out. We had a good discussion today, I think, on two different subjects on the open hour. We were talking a little bit about the red light cameras and the province kind of tucking this into a large bill that will allow them to pursue in the future. It's not a done deal, but to pursue in the future installing red light cameras or installing photo radar or these traffic intersection cameras. And we had a good discussion on that as well. I got an email from Rob and said, hey, if it was discussed, I missed the topic, but if this is a private company setting up the cameras and collecting and giving out the fees, what's the small percentage? Will Nova Scotia taxpayers get anything from it? If anything, if it's run by the province and then the money comes back to the province, then it's not the worst idea. And Rob, I appreciate that. I think it's still in the very early stages. I haven't seen any kind of plan moving forward with regards to that, but I would hope that it would be a significant portion, if it does go to a private company to do, would come back to the province, or if it's provincially run, or maybe it might even be run municipally. They may have the municipalities handle this stuff, and I don't know how that works with the RCMP out on the province's highways, but it certainly I think would be a benefit to the province. It's not about the fines, really. To me, it's not about the fines. It's about slowing traffic down and making the roads safer, because we've all seen it. I see it every day coming in here. The amount of dangerous driving that happens out there. People blowing by me on Highway 102. Can you imagine? I'm going to go on a rant now, but can you imagine traveling from Lacewood into Bears Lake Road, right, or Bears Road, at 7:30 in the morning when you know that there's traffic is backed up at Dunbrack? Crazy, I call it, because of that double merge lane that backs everything up, and you're traveling at the posted limit, which I believe is 100, right? Or if it's not, it's 90. Everybody's going about 100 kilometers an hour, and somebody blows by you at about 130, knowing that he's going to turn, or that person, shouldn't say he, that person is making that turn and going to have to jump on the binders because the traffic is stopped. People have to put on their four-way lights so that people are paying attention, right? I think having some kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Mechanism that you don't know if you're ever going to be on that red light camera or not, or on that photo radar camera or not, might help that situation. And if it saves a life, then I think it's worth it, right? Anyway, that's thanks to Rob. Vanessa's got she's on the phone. She never stops talking on the phone. It's because we make her do that, and she's just lining up our next guest. But I do think that once she hangs up that phone, then we're going to have a couple of winners from for the Halifax Moose. She's got look, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, Vanessa Van Den Ness.
Good afternoon.
How are you?
I'm well, and yourself?
People email me and say we don't hear from Vanessa enough.
That's okay. it's nice every once in a while. It doesn't have to be always.
Right?
It's a nice surprise. It's a little bonus.
There you go. You were busy working the phones there, and I understand that we do have a pair of winners.
Yes, we do. So Ted Latter won Friday's games tickets. Yes, and Travis Kaiser.
Congratulations. Fantastic. Go Moose, go. Get out there and enjoy it. Just a couple of more emails I want to relay to you very quickly. This one dealing with the surge pricing on the downtown parking that we were talking about. It says, this is from Rob. It says, so basically it comes down to who has money and who doesn't. Those with money get to park where they want, and those who don't have to walk, bus, bike. So if they're taking cars away from the average person now, don't you ever wonder what's left when it's all over and done with? Population overgrowth is not going to make our lives any happier, but just make us dependent on a perfect supply chain in every industry. And one fails, everything could collapse because our demand will be so high and our tolerance will be so low. Also writes, good job, Mr. Houston and everyone else, Trudeau, etc. What's wrong with Canada is being a strong 40 million population with no debt. Maybe then we'll decide to grow. And that comes to us from Rob on the program. I think I got one more email. I think we have time for one more. Do we? Absolutely have time for one more. We were, again, talking about parking, and it says, hey, Dan, this is from Mike. It says, heard the last caller talking about 3 years. The caller had called into the program and said they hadn't been downtown Halifax in 3 years since they put the new digital parking structure in place. He says, I haven't been in the city for nearly 7 years, except for doctor's appointments, and even those I try to schedule other places around HRM. It's the lack of parking, the price of parking, the new zone system they implemented, the mobile app that charges you extra. Does it? Oh, I guess there's a fee, right? Is there a subscription fee? Which goes to the company who makes the mobile app, all the bike lanes that create congestion. So many reasons to stay away from downtown. And that is from Mike. We're going to stop. We're going to take another break. On the other side of the break, a conversation with Nova Scotia's Minister for Communities, Culture, and Tourism and Heritage. That's Dave Ritcey. He's going to join us. You're listening to The Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Ahlstrand. Back in minutes. All right, welcome back. This is the Thursday edition of the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Ahlstrand. Hope you're having a fantastic day as we roll along. Of course, tomorrow is the fabulous Friday edition of the program. Hope you're planning to join us and planning to take part because it's always a lot of fun. We saw from obviously Province House has been a busy place as of late with a number of bills and a bunch of legislation being tabled now that politicians are and I put quotations around this because I know they work outside of the sessions of the legislature, but this is the very public stuff when the House is back in business. And one of the bills that was tabled during this beginning of this session is to deal with tourism. And of course, we know that tourism is a pretty significant sector of our economy, and we're very pleased to welcome to the program today to tell us a little bit about it. It's the Minister of Communities, Culture, Tourism, and Heritage, and that's Dave Ritcey. Minister Ritcey, appreciate your time.
Well, thank you, Dan, for having me on today and talk about this exciting tourism sector strategy. It's really exciting for our province and communities right across the province.
All right, we know that tourism is obviously a huge portion of our economy. Lots of tourists come to the province each and every year. Why is it important now to come up with a 5-year strategy at this point in time?
Well, I think we have to continue to grow the economy and the opportunity we have here in tourism. People want to come to Nova Scotia, and our vision is tourism in Nova Scotia thriving in all seasons in all regions. So we're excited about that. This was a sector-driven strategy co-led by Tourism Industry Association of Nova Scotia, TIANS, and Tourism Nova Scotia for my department. And so excited to announce it yesterday at the Halifax Stanfield International Airport.
Minister Ritcey, does this strategy take into account the ongoing situation that we're facing with our neighbors to the south with the U.S.-Canada trade war that's underway?
Yeah, you know what? We talked about it. We talked about it briefly yesterday. They want to come. We still market to the U.S. And why not come to Canada? The dollar is a lot better, and come visit our beautiful province. And we've had that opportunity. We've seen some talking to stakeholders and operators. We've heard directly from them, seeing a lot of U.S. travelers coming in.
How much? Do you have a comparison about how much we spend on advertising to Canadians and to Americans? Is it equal, or do we spend more in the States? How does that work?
We changed it up a bit this year and put some emphasis right across the country. We've seen a lot more travelers coming through Canada and within the Atlantic region. And I think it's important to be proud that Canadians right across this country want to come to Nova Scotia, and we've seen that. We've seen that visitors coming here wanting to see, what the ocean looks like. In some cases, coming from Alberta, we've seen a good number of people coming from Alberta. Ontario is another market that played a valuable role, and that's why we strategized to put more emphasis in our Canadian travelers, because we've heard that firsthand.
Heard from tourism operators, Minister, that it's sometimes difficult for them to get labor to work in this field, and it's with a high turnover. Is there anything in this plan to address that?
Yeah, we that was addressed in our plan, and we're working with our industry partners through our oversight committee, and talking about the opportunities to see how we can better that. So, for example, like at Cabot, the private investor actually put up some housing for their employees to be right on site. So that's a great initiative from that industry employer, and that's an opportunity that we will continue to discuss and work with our operators on.
Is this plan for the whole province, or does it focus on specific areas?
No, this is for the whole province. You know what, Dan? I traveled all summer from Glace Bay to Yarmouth, Nova Scotia, and hearing all the good things that are happening from our operators, our tourism operators. And this plan is for the province and getting people to come here to visit. We are so excited to be part of this plan and part of this strategy.
What kind of numbers are we talking here? What kind of impact does tourism have on the province's economy?
Well, I can tell you, $3.5 billion last year in their economic spends and economic impact, and then you think about the 55,000 jobs in the industry in the province. It's just amazing.
What obviously summertime is the big season, but do we market the 4 seasons? Is that part of the plan too?
That's definitely part of the plan. We want to market 4 seasons. That's where we see the opportunity. We need to be open for business. So we're telling people Nova Scotia is open for business, and this is another way of us showing that we're open for business, marketing all 4 seasons.
How big a role does that ferry in Yarmouth play in tourism in Nova Scotia? And is it worth the value that we spend on it?
You know what? It's definitely in the conversation, and they've seen the same amount of numbers. Talking to them yesterday at the strategy, they're seeing numbers continue to come up this way, less numbers going south.
Minister Ritcey, obviously cruise tourism is a big portion of that, particularly in up in Sydney and here in HRM. Been some musing about maybe expanding cruise terminals. Is that something you may consider by building another one, perhaps on the Dartmouth side of the harbor?
I'll be honest, I haven't heard that yet, but I can tell you that our Halifax and our Sydney ports have extended their season by a few more weeks because they've seen the opportunity and seen the need. So going into that expansion of all seasons in tourism, they've seen that opportunity, and Halifax and Sydney are very, very busy.
Fall colors is a big draw, right?
Absolutely. Looking forward to that.
If we get any, it's been kind of a wild summer with all these dry conditions.
Sure has. No, definitely, sure has.
Minister Ritcey, with this 5-year plan, is there money earmarked for that? Do we know what it's going to cost?
So we're continuously work through our cross government departmental departments and talking about money. But in our annual budget, we do such a great job providing $4.5 million in program support to our industry stakeholders, and our recent announcement around the regional air access and how important that is in tourism for the Maritimes. The investment of $2.9 million over the next 3 years to support regional air access along with New Brunswick and PEI. So it's very exciting.
Minister Ritcey, appreciate your time.
No, thank you for the time. And like I said, it's an exciting time for all of us. And I can tell you, Nova Scotia's on the map right across the world, and we're excited to be part of it.
Have a great one.
Thank you.
That is the Minister of Tourism and a bunch of other. His title is about 4 feet long. Anyway, it's Dave Ritcey. We're very pleased that he was able to join us here on the program. That's going to about do it here for the Thursday edition of the show. My thanks to all of our guests who took time out of their day and joined the conversation. I appreciate it, and I appreciate you for spending some time with us, particularly when you pick up the phone and you dial the numbers and you join the open hours and you send me the emails. You make my day each and every day that you do it. Don't forget, tomorrow, a special edition of the Todd Veinotte Show on Friday and on Monday. We'll have a special guest star appearance here on the program. I'm taking a couple of days off to go and do a military reunion, which I'm looking forward to. But in my stead, Lisa Blackburn will be here behind the controls and behind the mic, and we'll be here to carry you through your fabulous Friday and into your manic Monday. And, of course, counselors on the hot seat will be there as well. So I hope that you can spend some time with Lisa and spend some time with the show. And we'll be off on Tuesday. Just a quick note, Tuesday, Truth and Reconciliation Day. We'll have there will be no show that day. But on Wednesday, we'll be back. I'll be back in the chair on Wednesday, and I'm looking forward to chatting with you all. My thanks. Endearing thanks to Vanessa Vandenez on the other side of the glass. She's the one who's responsible for getting these guests, everybody, and she works her fingers pretty hard down to the bone when she's trying to get this show running and keep me in line. And I truly, she laughs every time I say that. I truly appreciate it. And, of course, I truly appreciate you for listening to the show. Without you, we wouldn't be on the air. Again, tomorrow, Lisa Blackburn in the chair. On Monday in the chair as well. Tuesday, the day off for Truth and Reconciliation as we observe that. And then I'm back on Wednesday. Until then, everybody, I hope that you are okay. Enjoy the rain because we've been calling for that. And you be well because that's important. And don't forget to be kind to one another. See you in a bit.